What does it mean to be an INFP Enneagram Type 4? Well, first of all, before we get into the intro and everything like that, fours are like the most introspective of the Enneagram types. They're highly attuned to their emotional inner world, and it's very rich and colorful as well. Usually they're both talented and creative, like to produce a lot of art or music and things like that. And with that, though, there's also this sense of inadequacy, of envying what other people have and what they feel that they don't have. And this acute awareness of the subtleties of their own emotional state and emotions. Yeah, what's missing, and this feeling of like, I'm not good enough, I'm broken in some way. And if you resonate with that, then stay tuned for the rest of this episode, because we're going to talk about the shadow side of the INFP, and specifically the Enneagram Type 4, which I call broken-hearted envy, and what you can do to improve your life through getting more in touch with your emotions. What's up, legend? It's Sherman here from Geek Psychology, where I help geeks, gamers, and creatives to play life better. I recently released a video on the INFP Type 9, and I got some comments about, are you going to do some other Enneagram posts and videos and stuff like that? So I decided to go into the INFP Type 4, because I know there are a lot of people within the channel that will get benefit from it. And if that's you, then continue to stay tuned. Or if you know a Type 4 or an INFP, this will help you help them as well. And so we're going to go through 3 different pieces within this. First, we're going to go a little bit deeper into what does it mean to be an Enneagram Type 4. And then we're going to talk about that shadow side of broken-hearted envy. And then after that, how can you best overcome this envy and the struggles that come with it? So my experience with Enneagram Type 4, my brother is a Type 4, and I know some other Type 4s, my wife's brother and stuff. Maybe it's just all brothers. Maybe all brothers, younger brothers specifically, are Type 4s. And I know there is a correlation of some sorts with that, because a lot of it comes from this like seeing somebody else that's getting more in some way and feeling internally that like, why don't I have this? Why am I not good enough for it? What's wrong with me? Why don't I get this love and appreciation and acceptance? Why am I not good enough? And with that, there's this constant like struggle and striving to be seen, right? And to be recognized for being unique and being yourself. And a lot of times it comes with a lot of like an emotional injection into situations, and that can be very dramatic, for good or for bad. Like I appreciate strong emotions. I'm an INFP too, okay? But throughout my life, I've realized more and more which emotions I want to have in my life, which is something we'll talk about a bit later. But I know that within the relationships and the conversations I've had, and just the setting, the circumstances, a lot of it is like, well, I was never appreciated enough. Like, you do all this stuff for these other people and not for me, all right? And that might very well be true. And I'm not denying that as a reason for anything. But I know 4s really like grasp onto that and like latch onto it as something that has innate and very strong meaning. And with that comes that flavoring of like, well, because everybody else has that, I'm not enough. I designed a fantasy world before, and it had the different continents. It had 9 different continents. Well, actually 10. There's one in the center, one for each of the Enneagram types. And the Type 4 world was like this really, it was like an overgrown kind of jungle forest, and there were like outcasts and small tribes and stuff. And it was like a broken isle, right? It had a bunch of little islands and stuff. And some like ghosts and haunted stuff within the forest there. There were a couple little like villages, I suppose, and things like that. But a lot of it was inhabited by these essentially aliens that were left on Earth, or they feel that there is some connection to this like higher purpose, this higher spirit, and they are not welcome back to their hometown, their home planet rather. And I think that really summarizes a lot of the Enneagram 4's kind of feeling and mindset around life and their identity. So let's talk a bit about broken-hearted envy. This is kind of a combination of words that I put together, but the passion for Enneagram Type 4 is envy, and their fixation is melancholy. So as you can see, it's this envy of other people with a lot of emotion and sadness attached to it. This is envy of those who are not broken. This is a deep longing and discontent, and focusing more and more on their inner world. And with all that fixation and focusing, you start to pay attention to what's wrong, right? All the things that are wrong because of the envy, right? It's an amplifier, it's a magnifier for that. And more of this like obsession with obtaining something that is going to help you, be whole again, be fixed. And it's a wild ride from my understanding. And like as an INFP myself, I do understand facets of this. And as a type 9 too, like we can kind of put ourselves into all these different types, right? This is a natural facet of life, but it's a matter of like, it's the culture that you've grown up in. If you're thinking about it in that terms of like a world, right? A world map and all these different countries and continents and stuff like that. It's like the culture that you've grown up in. So it's a lot heavier, it's a lot more ingrained, and it's also ever around you. It's everywhere. Like you don't necessarily see it. Just like my experience with being angry as a type 9, like I didn't really see that it was a thing because it's so close to home. And so because you have this feeling of not being enough or feeling unworthy or unaccepted, you tend to feel that, well, you have to become someone else. You have to become more special, become more unique. And I'm going to tell you right now, and I'm sure you know this somewhere deep down, right? That you are special. You are unique. You are the only version of you that there is, right? There's nobody else that's exactly like you, that has all the same experiences, the same ways of combining ideas and emotions and thoughts and all the things that you want to do with your life. Like you are unique within that. I would say just stop looking for it, and continue on. But I know that that's not going to actually land and resonate. You might think, oh yeah, okay, but it'll come back unless you bring in these techniques that we're going to talk about soon. But one more thing, I want to talk specifically about being an INFP. I'm hoping that you understand your cognitive functions. If you don't, you probably should check this out first, whatever it is, it's probably over here, so that you can understand more about it. But I'll go into it briefly. So it's like this deep dive into introverted feeling, into your emotions, into what is important to you on a very granular level, and then searching the depths of that, of the depths of your soul with extroverted intuition, and connecting all these patterns and asking, what if I combined this with this, and what does this mean? And like trying to understand the bigger pattern of who you are and your existence and what it means to be a human. And then kind of like latching on to all the melancholy or the sad, strongly physically felt emotional experiences. That's what's going on, right? And let me know down below if that resonated with you. And yes, Enneagram and cognitive functions are different, but that's how I can most closely replicate it and understand it. So how can you best overcome this brokenhearted anxiety or envy? There's anxiety in there too, but how can you best overcome this brokenhearted envy? There are two main things that I want to talk about. First is to experience the emotion and let it flow through you, okay? And I know that you probably think that you already do this in some ways, but Harvard neuroscientist Dr. Jill Taylor noticed that it takes 90 seconds to identify and process an emotion completely. And if the emotion is continuing on, that means that the emotion is changing. It could be going to a different level, bigger or more in granular detail, or that you're doing something to fan the flame. You're continuing the emotion. You're adding more fuel to the fire. And how I think about it, and I have a different situation, but I do have introverted feeling and I do experience a lot of my emotions, is that it's better to pick an emotion that serves you, right? If you're going to be emotional about stuff, if you're going to experience it, please do, but choose the one that's best for you and the situation. And I know a lot of times when I talk about that, it's like, well, I don't want to be fake. I don't want to choose my emotions. Like, emotions should be authentic, and they are. But you can also wrap it with another emotion. You can wrap it with gratitude. You can say, okay, I'm feeling horrible about the injustice in the world. How can I use that as a motivator to take some sort of massive action to change things, right? Like, use it. Use the emotion and translate it or transmute it into something better that's going to actually serve you in order to improve your life or the life of other people. And the next one is to find a real and authentic way of expressing yourself. Like, you got to do it. You have to do it, right? Anytime I talk to any INFPs or anybody and I notice that they're not doing their dominant cognitive function, right? They're not, like, for an INFP, you're not expressing your emotions. You're not spending time like understanding yourself, giving yourself time to journal or do art and stuff like that. If you're not doing that, then you're going to be depressed, right? It's like an ESTJ or something like that not accomplishing tasks, right? Like, that they would be depressed. They would have just no sense of self-worth in a lot of ways because they're not actually doing the things that are intrinsic to their personality and that actually fuel and rejuvenate them. So find a real, authentic way to express yourself. Do art, be imperfect with it, put it out there, get it out into the world, and embrace the suck. Embrace the struggle that goes through it, through the hero's journey of learning and failing and then getting the thing that you thought you wanted, but really finding out that it was something much, much better. And if you want to connect with other INFPs, go to inowfeelpositive.com, sign up for the newsletter there, get the free content. You get a bunch of videos, a bunch of INFP specific stuff, and you get access to the INFP only Discord. It's INFP only because I want to have like a safe place for INFPs to really like just share those things that are really intrinsic to us and really unique and special about us. Though I love the other types, that's what the Discord for Geek Psychology is about. All right, let me know down below what helped you, and keep up the lifelong questing. Good luck, have fun. Check out the video over there. Peace. This is white. Almost as pasty as me. I'm that special.